Tekking Lamentation Tumble! But first, before I get to that, I am going to have myself a snack. And what snack would be a snack without the king of all snacks, the humble Oreo, and a cup of milk. It doesn't get much better than that. You know what I'm saying? I dropped my Oreo. Hell hath no suffering than myself in this moment. I still have milk though. It's 1%. Okay, don't worry. Do not worry. I have a backup Oreo. We all need to have backup Oreos at all times. Barry, you hold on to that for the end of the video. Alright, so, Nelliel 2, Odelschwanck, or just Nelliel, or Nell, if you want to be very simplified there. You know, many might say I could have waited to the very end to talk about her, because she was an Espada that was, you know, a previous Espada. You know, she got removed from the organization after Noitra and Sile did their little backstabby thing, smacked her on the head, knocked her mask off, or cracked it, and, she turned into a little child, you know, and then after that, you know, Ichigo ran into her in Hueco, and then eventually she got back to her regular self, okay? But she's not an Espada in the context of, like, the actual arc. However, though, after the whole events of Bleach are over with, and we get the Can't Fear Your Own World novels, she and Haribel actually become, like, joint rulers, joint queens of Hueco, and kind of rule over it together, you know, ushering in a new era of many different, hollow-themed policies, I guess. You know, that'd actually be really cool to see them rule together, alright? Because we don't really get much from Nelliel, certainly not very much of her in her adult form in the series. After she transforms back into her adult form, we get the fight with her and Noitra, and she's about to deliver the coup de grace on him, and then she just pops back into a little kid, so we're like, so close, so close. It's like dramatic timing. It's like, it's over, Noitra, you cannot hope to win. After I stab you with this lance, you will be finished, and everything will be pop! Now, actually, because Noitra hadn't even gone into his release form yet, and from what we saw, there was a lot more power that he wasn't using against Nell, so, it's actually kind of dubious whether or not the fight would have been decided right then and there, but still, rather dramatic timing for her to pop back into, like, an 8-year-old girl, okay? But beyond that, she shows up as an adult in the 1000-Year Blood War arc, but we really don't get anything from her. In fact, we honestly don't get anything. Like, I'm not even abusing that at all. Like, she shows up out of the Garganta, she gets reunited with Ichigo, gives him a hug, she's got a cool new outfit, you know, she's got the furs and everything, she has a handy new little dandy bracelet that Urahara made for her that basically, I guess, seals in her Ryatsu. The whole problem here, why she kept transforming back into a little kid, was because her mask was cracked in such a way her Ryatsu kept leaking out of it. So in states of severe duress, you know, when, like, Ichigo was getting the crap beat out of him by Noitra, and Noitara's just like, BAM! Man, you're not really strong at all, are you? Man, your Bankai sucks! And Ichigo's just getting, please stop. You know, Nell, you know, in that situation of all that trauma and stress and everything, forced her body, boom, back into her adult form, but the hole was still there. She was still leaking out of the crack in her holomask, so she reverted back shortly after that. Also, keep in mind, she went into her Resurrection Yuza, which also probably put more strain on her body. What Urahara did was make a bangle, like, bracelet kind of deal in the style of her antlers when she goes into her form. Although, the Gamyuza literally translates to, like, antelope knight. So, she's not exactly like a horse centaur when she transforms into this form, okay? Which was rather disappointing, because I went and got my horse mask, and what the hell am I supposed to use this for? I dug around my prop trunk. She's not even a damn horse. Anyway, no, she's not a horse, but she is a centaur, and with that being said, I'm just gonna throw it out there right now, she was the first sexy centaur that I've seen in anime. The second, of course, being Centauria from Monster Musume, and number 3 being Speed from One Piece. Didn't know that was a thing, but it's certainly a thing. But anyway, yeah, Urahara made the little bracelet, so I guess that seals it in and plugs it up so she could just maintain her form whenever she wants. In fact, the way that she explained this to Ichigo was like, now I can transform between an adult and a child whenever I want! Although I don't see any reason why I would transform back into a child. Whatever, Ichigo! I love you! I miss you! And then Orihime's in the background like, okay. And then Chad's there, and he's like, Orihime, you understand that, you know, Urahara's not messing with you when he... It's almost like Orihime was, like, a little bit, like, okay, Uehara-san, you could have waited till the end of this final battle to give her that, you know, okay, whatever. And then, you know, Chad is just like, you know, Uehara has the best intentions, right? Although, knowing Uehara, you know, I'm sure, like, when Nell approached him and like, hey, like, Mr. Hattenclogs, can you make me something to make me go back to my regular form? I'm kind of tired of being a child. And Uehara, you know, it popped into his head of just like, oh yeah, sure, I'll make something to help you out. Ooh, this will make a nice little love triangle when Orihime gets a look at this. Alright, alright, yeah, wear this bracelet, pop. Oh, okay, that's great. Here's a new outfit, there you go. Although, I guess the new outfit that Nell got wasn't quite as revealing in the boob area as Orihime's was, because, yeah. But, yeah, it's just like, yeah, you guys go and have fun. This will be a great little adventure for all parties involved, okay? Right, but the point is, after that meeting between everybody, like the little meet and greet they did, we don't really get anything else from her. She jumps off of a building to try to save Uehara and Grimmjow and Yoruichi from asking Naklevar's, like, you know, gift ball deluxe when he was dying and the gift ball was compressing all of the death energy and just... And then Nelliel's like, oh, okay, well, Uehara told me if this was going to happen, like, scenario 8. In case he makes a giant death ball that amplifies upon his own death, make sure to jump through the opening that I provided using my Bonkai and rescue us before we all die. Oh, wow, that was very specific what he wrote down and actually happened. Okay, well, here I go! And then she jumps off of a building! And then we don't even get, like, full confirmation whether or not she made it or not. She did, because later on in the Can't For Your Own World light novels, this was all explained, but just a weird way to leave off a character in terms of, like, the actual story and the actual manga. It is like, alright, here I go! Psh! Alright, that's it! You know, that's all it is. But the Can't For Your Own World light novels reveal it later on, so there's that. So she doesn't spend a lot of time in her adult form, so I'm glad the light novels, and I can't wait to get my hands on them when they're released. It's getting close. July is when they're going to be released in English. I'll actually, you know, finally get my hands on them and read them and get some more Nell action there. So yeah, can you tell I'm a fan? I'm certainly a fan, yes. Alright, so, oh man, there's a few avenues we can take with this. Let's talk about Gamyusa first. Let's just talk about that, alright? So as I stated, she transforms into a centaur, so like her lower body is horse-esque, although it's not really a horse, it is an ibex, or a goat. So Gamyusa literally means antelope knight. In the Viz translation, it's Capricorn knight, which is a goat, alright, in the zodiac, okay? But just looking at her, your initial thought would be like centaur, and when we think centaur, we generally think horse, you know, so there you go, but it is not in case that. And her, also the release command, because the release command is praise, Udai Gamyusa. I always thought, like, goat immediately, so when I read the translation antelope, I'm like, antelopes are related to goats, they're in the same family of Bovidae, but so are, like, cows and stuff, so they're related, but they're not exactly the same thing, and just looking at her antlers, they're definitely more indicative of ibex or goat antlers or horns rather than an antelope. You know, this is an antelope, this is a goat. You can tell which one definitely resembles Gamyusa more. Yeah, by the way, I love just looking at animal pictures whenever I do these, you know, check out all these antelope pictures. Oh, they're so adorable. This one's like, oh, they caught me on camera. Do something cool. And this one's looking pretty neat. And this one is... The hell is that? Is that even is that a Photoshop? What is that? Saiga antelope. That's a thing? Saiga antelope. I had no idea. Look at it. It has like little mini trunks on it. Oh my god, that's so cute. All right, well, I learned something new today. Antelope, Saiga antelope. This is where they live, in this general region. So if you live in that general region of, like, Russia, let me know if you've ever seen a Saiga antelope, because they look adorable. Alright, but anyway, yeah, you can see the difference there, so yeah. Because Capricorn, though, was also referenced, at least in the Viz release, which, by the way, I think we also see some other censorship that Viz did here with this Tankobon. Had to put that Bleach logo right there, didn't you? It's funny, it seems like there's a lot of open white space up here you could have stuck that logo. I wonder if there's something that logo is attempting to cover up in any way, shape, or form. Nah, probably not. Anyway, because we're talking about Capricorn, I busted out my handy-dandy Signs and Symbology sourcebook and pulled it up to the Capricorn section just to see. Bonus points if you're a Capricorn, because I'm talking a lot about Capricorns in this video. Everyone's like, yeah, Capricorn! When were you born anyway? I don't even know when you were born. Capricorn. Does it not actually tell you which, like, the dates of the zodiac? It lists everything else. It lists, like, the Capricorn polarity, negative female. Your ruling planet is Saturn. Your element is the Earth. Okay, cool. Your trees of preference are the elm and the pine, but it doesn't actually say when you were born. Okay, well, I think they're, Capricorns. They're, December, January-ish, I think? I don't know. But anyway, I'm already killing enough time here. All right. But the point is I wanted to bring up is, the hybrid nature of the symbol points toward an inherent duality. I wanted to bring that up there. Certainly in a both literal sense for Nelliel, being able to transform, like we first see her as a little girl, and then later she is a fully grown adult. There's the duality there. And also, in between, like, she has similar personality in each form, but when she's in her childish form, she's obviously more childish, and when she's in her adult form, she seems very peppy and happy and energetic, but she can also be extraordinarily serious. A seriousness that we did not see in her child form at all. A little bit more reassuring to Ichigo when she reveals her Espada tattoo. It's on her back, and Ichigo sees it and like, oh, we got a strong ally. I hope she's around for a while. Pop back into a little girl. Damn it. Okay, well, it was cool to see her while we got to see her, right? Okay. And in fact, that duality extends even further beyond her body and her own personality. It extends to what she is. She is a hollow when you come down to it, or an Arrancar to be specific. Most hollows that we see in the story are ravenous beasts that go after human souls with very little intelligence. Now, even Nelliel herself stated, when you become an Arrancar, you kind of get that sense of civility back, at least a little bit. And you have other hollows like Stark that are very stoic, very calm and collected, and that kind of demeanor. But even with that, Nelliel is kind of set apart, where she has a rather sort of motherly, personality. When you're talking about her Fraxione, she treats them like family. A very calm and reserved individual that honestly doesn't seem like she wants to be an Arrancar, or she wants to be what she is. So struggling with that duality in that sense. I want to talk about the backstory that we get to see with Noitra, and I touched upon this in Noitra's video, but the thing about Nelliel that I find extremely fascinating is there's the line she had with Noitra, okay, where after they finish a mission, no, it wasn't even after the mission with the village, it was after Noitra challenged her to a fight for like the 50,000th time, and just like, I'm not gonna let a woman, be stronger than me, I'm gonna fight you and I'm gonna win and I'm gonna be number 3 from now on, and then Nelliel kicks his ass for like, once again, like the 50,000th time. So Noitra's there in the dirt, like, good, can't believe I lost, and Nelliel's just sitting there on a rock, just reading a book. Wonder what kind of book she was reading now that I think about it. He's like, what kind of books do hollows read? But here's the thing. Nelliel has this little line of dialogue where she's talking about how, like, listen, we started off as humans with logic and reason and humanity and morality, and then we lost all that when we became mindless hollows. After we died and we became hollows and we had the hole inside of ourselves, we were just mindless beasts eating humans. Then we had that humanity kind of restored to us when we became Arrancars again. So it's sort of like Nell can probably not remember what it was like when she was a human in that whole reincarnation cycle, but she at least retains the same level of intelligence and humanity that she retained while she was on that level. She's still a hollow, but if she's ranking as high as she does, she probably was a Vasto Lorde hollow. So, she's not as, like, mindless and brutish as the other ones, but she's very civilized. So, to that point, she treats a lot of the other hollows, such as Noitra and Grimjow, that have a lot more carnal kind of desires. She kind of looks down on them a little bit. Not in the sense of, like, you are ants, you are beneath me, bow to my goddess greatness. No, she's more like, I pity you. You are savages and nothing else. I am a civilized hollow. I retain this ability. And then she also kind of implies, like, Noitra, this could be you, too. I mean, you also got your humanity back, too. It's just that you're choosing to still act like a mindless beast. I think that's the thing that Nelliel was really trying to get across here. It's just, like, those other hollows, like the Gillions, they can't help it, all right? They are just a mass of just destruction and rage. We, as Arrancars, as Espada, we can be better than that. And you're choosing not to be. You're choosing to be all obsessive with, like, I'm the king, I'm the strongest, I'm gonna win, I'm gonna beat everybody. I'm like, dude, could you just chill out? You know, could you just like look at the bigger picture of all this and see that there's more to the world about being strong and, you know, pounding the crap out of everything that lands in your field of vision. There's more to life than that, you know? But of course, Noitara didn't get that. She even got that kind of attitude with Grimmjow too, because when Grimmjow came out at, you know, the 1,000-Year Blood War, they arrived together, and they're like, you know, hey, Ichigo, it's been a while, let's fight. And then they have a little bit of back and forth, and Nelliel wasn't really having it. Nelliel's just like, do you really have to act like that? And it's like, you know, by the way, I'm a number 3, just not to get rank involved, but I'm number 3 and you're a number 6. You should really be taking orders from me. And Grimmjow's like, dude, that freaking number system, that was Aizen's thing. He's gone now. Those numbers don't mean dick anymore. You know, and even Grimmjow was like, you want to go then? You want to see how stronger I am? And Nelliel's like, God damn, we get rid of Noitara and there's another one. Okay, fine. You know, something else though is when Noitara finally died, Nell, of course, had reversed back into her child form at that point, but it seemed like she retained her memories. She turned back into a child, but she kept her memories this time. So she was, like, against a rock, kind of, like, resting, and she kind of opens her eyes very briefly to just see Noitara die after Kenpachi brings down the 2 hands Deathbringer shing, and then Noitara's on the ground all bleeding out, like, ugh. And then Nelliel is just like, Noitara, So, I don't know if there was a little bit of sadness there, or maybe perhaps grief, or maybe perhaps lamentation, maybe? So that's about as good as a transition I'm gonna get. So, in the manga, we never find out what Nelliel's aspect of death was. All the Espadas had an aspect of death. We only knew about the current Espada. I don't think we ever found out about, like, Luffy's aspect of death either. The pre-Verona Espada, Dodoni, Chewy Sandwich, and Gantenbein Mosqueda, we also never found out about theirs. And we didn't find out about Nelliel's. Now, I asked about this in a previous, you know, Espada discussion, like, what is Nelliel's aspect of death? Because I saw a little bit of, like, varying looks at this, and I tried to look it up on the internet. I'm guessing, and once again, I haven't read Can't Fear Your Own World, but I'm getting the impression that it is revealed there, and it's actually lamentation. Lamentation or grief. It's basically kind of the same deal, or they're connected. That's what I've been getting a lot of. Like, most people are saying lamentation. So I'm going to go with that, all right? And I think it fits for her character, all right? So lamentation is the feeling of grief when someone dies. Sorrow could also be attributed to that, but sorrow can be in other things. That doesn't have to be the death. I think lamentation is mostly reserved for someone that you know, that you care about, dies, and then you feel genuine grief. Not just a little bit of sadness, not just like, oh, I knew someone that died and I cry a little bit. No, like, genuine grief, and, you know, you're lamenting their deaths, okay? So, and you could see how that could be an aspect of death. You could see how the death of a loved one could lead to the ruin and eventually your own death if it was a powerful enough thing. If it was something like the death of a child, you know, specifically like an unborn child or something like that, you can kind of see the direction I'm taking this here, because Nell can transform into a child. This is kind of, like, intense, but I'm looking at her aspect, I'm like, lamentation, if that's really her aspect of death, and I'm going along with this, I'm like, oh, man, what if, like, when she was a human, what if she was alive, what if she was a mother, and she lost an unborn child? You know, or what if it was a little kid or a baby or something, and some horrible thing happened, it got a disease or something and it died, and then after that she fell into, like, just this intense grief and she just couldn't go on. Now, given Nell and the way how she acts all upbeat and happy, that is kind of a juxtaposition on that, but then you start thinking about this even deeper, and you're like, oh, what if the reason she was acting that way, that's like her main personality, this bubbly, happy personality that she expresses to Ichigo, and she expresses to her Fraxion, Pesce, and Dondo Chaka, is kind of like, oh, you know, because that's the way she used to act with her daughter or her son, you know, or that's like her peppy attitude. She's like just kind of masking the real pain. Like, hollows all wear masks. I'm just saying, on the other side of that mask, there's probably something really jacked up that happened to them when they were humans. That could be the situation with Nelliel. And then, of course, to be more literal about it, she turns into a child. All right, so I know she didn't choose that. That was because of Sile and Noitara working together. But something else you got to keep in mind there is that they didn't plan on that happening. And both of them were like, what the hell? Why did that happen? Like, that wasn't something that was known to occur. Like, oh yeah, just crack her mask, then she'll turn back into a kid and she's completely helpless. Like, it's like, that is so unusual that is what happened, all right? And I'm just feeling that if you cracked other Espadas or other Arrancar's masks, and some of them were cracked, like D-Roy Rinker's, I mean, granted it was cracked before he became an Arrancar, but still, like, there are other Hollows and Arrancar out there that have cracked masks that do not turn into children. All right, so I'm thinking that was a very specific thing with Nelliel that kind of lends it to be like, maybe that's like deep down, that's what she wanted, you know, like, because maybe she lost a child, then she could, and she was a mother, and then she becomes the child, maybe something like that. That's a really intense kind of like a headcanon way of looking at it. I'm just saying that it is rather unusual what happened to her, okay? So that's the reason I came up with that and her aspect of death there. Grave lamentation, you know, weeping of sorrow, stuff like of that nature. So take that whatever you will, and I would definitely like to hear other viewpoints on this, even if it's just like, Tekking, I don't think lamentation really works that well for her. Maybe it's this, or maybe it's that, something of that nature, right? But she's definitely seemed very dignified. You know, she didn't seem like someone that like was reveling in battle. The fact that she achieved the rank of 3rd Espada was probably just because of her battle prowess, and she had a lot of Ryatsu and things like that. Aizen made her that. Something that I was always a little confused by, and this doesn't have anything to do with Nelliel herself, it had more to do with the timeline, because I was thinking of Bleach as like a very linear timeline, like Aizen betrays the Soul Society, then he immediately goes to Hueco Mundo and sets up the Espada, but then later on we get the whole backstory between Nelliel and Noitaro, which apparently took place years and years and years ago, maybe even decades ago, the way that Noitaro talks about it, like, the Espada aren't as the same level that they were back then, or the standards are higher, you know, like, I'm like, well, wait a second, didn't Aizen just leave the Soul Society like less than a year ago? How the hell are they having these convoluted backstories? But then later you find out because he went to Baragon's palace when he was still a captain, and because Aizen had the Kyoka Suigets, literally for decades and decades, he was making trips back and forth between Hueco Mundo, using Kyoka Suigetsu to like, oh yeah, Aizen's in the Soul Society, he's right over there. So the Espada that he was setting up, this whole operation didn't just happen overnight. This whole operation took years to build up. And yeah, that's what like Nelliel and Noitaro were referring to there. Okay, so special abilities that she's got. All right, well, she's got Gamuza, her Zanpakuto, of course, but she also has a very unique ability. She has the Cero Doble ability, which allows her to absorb somebody else's Cero and then stack her own Cero on top of that, leading to double the Cero action, double the Cero time. Boom! And then she uses that to blast off against Noitaro. Now, Noitaro was able to resist it because of the whole, like, he's like, yeah, the Espada, the standards for power for Espada are a lot greater than they were. And obviously, Nell hadn't been training at all when she was a little child. She was stuck in that form with no memories. But meanwhile, Noitaro was training a lot, all right? So he definitely improved. But she also has the ability when she is a kid, it's just that she can't add her own Cero on top of it, but she can absorb another one. Like, she ate Dordoni's Cero when he used it against Ichigo. Now, I think that took a lot out of her, and she kind of passed out immediately after doing it, but she could still do it. She also has her Super Acceleration, which is basically her form of Sonido. Probably not as, perfected or refined as Sonido, because she was a little kid, and she was just based off, like the little, like, 2% amount of power that she had from her Espada days, probably retained when she was a kid. So it's a much more like mitigated version of that, but still pretty impressive there. Healing Saliva. Yeah, that's a weird thing. She uses that when she's a child. She just kind of like, blah, just loogies all over Ichigo or Dordoni and just heals them up. She doesn't use that power too much when she's an adult, mostly because I think you'd be breaking the erotic meter if that would happen. You're like, oh my god, Ichigo, you're so hurt. Let me, just lick you a lot and it'll heal you up, and just like, whoa, okay, Bleach is turning into a freaking really ecchi series. Oh, we're bordering hentai, guys. All right, let's just scale that back a bit there. Probably the reason that, Kubo didn't do that. Although she didn't, like, even when she was a child, it was more disgusting. It was like she was vomiting on people and stuff. It was a little bit disturbing. Yeah. So, yeah, she has healing saliva. It's not like magic or anything. It's not like you get the saliva on you and it magically cures all of your wounds or anything. But it does expedite the healing process. It stops bleeding and stuff like that. she never was really stated to use that power again, or why she has it, or why none of the other Espada have it. She just has it, which also does kind of go along with her personality. She's very different from a lot of the other Espada, just like how Haribel is kind of the outlier with a lot of the Espada. And then you have Nelliel. It's also, since something that Haribel talked about in her anime episode, her backstory, like, you know, there's really not a lot of female hollows in Hueco Mundo. Like, the gender is very unbalanced. There's a lot more male hollows than females. So maybe just being a female hollow just kind of lends it to being more sympathetic, more empathetic, and those kind of things, you know. So that's why Haribel and Nelliel, just their personalities, they're not as, you know, like, bloodthirsty as a lot of the other ones are. Of course, when you get into the higher echelon of the Espada, you don't really get that too much. Like, Stark didn't really have that. Stark was just like, yep, I'm strong. Yep. I don't really worry too much about it. It's actually kind of a major complex, but I am pretty strong. Baragon did kind of have that, but that was less because of him being a hollow, and that was more of him being the king of hollows, you know. Baragon had this, like, he was literally the ruler of an entire dimension for probably thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even millions of years for Baragon, so he had that status for a long time, right? So that's why he was kind of so full of himself and arrogant, plus his abilities. But then you get to, like, Ukiura, Nelliel, Haribel. They didn't really have that either, you know. They were very much just a wash in their own, like, they were much more chill, much more stoic kind of characters. Nelliel, not so much stoic, but a lot more, like, chill, you know what I mean? Yeah, so that was that. But yeah, other than that, she could do other stuff, probably. We just didn't get to see it. The one attack we did get to see when she goes into her release form is Lanzador Verde, which is Jade Lancer in Japanese, and Green Lancer, just Verde means green in Spanish. And then she uses the attack, this giant lance, like javelin she has, and she just, like, lifts it up on her shoulder, and she's just like, boom! And then she just fires it off, and like a vortex spins off of it, hit Neutra. He blocked it with his sword, Santa Teresa, that weirdly shaped, like, axe blade thingy, and it breaks through it and, like, stabs him in the chest, but it wasn't enough to take him down. And then Nelliel picks it up again, like, here we go, round 2, pop, and then she turns back into a kid, right? And then so, that's that. Man, I'm really hoping in the new anime we get to see more of Nelliel. Like, even if it's, like, I'll be straight up, like, even if it's just, like, random members of the Soldat attack Grimmjow and Nelliel, and we get to see Nelliel, like, really quick, not even going into Resurrection, but just, like, dancing elegantly through the battlefield. She seems to fight, like, with both her sword and her scabbard, kind of similar to Ikaku in that way, dancing through the battlefield and, like, slicing down the enemies and stuff. Grimmjow, of course, going all battle crazy, and Nelliel being a little bit more elegant with it and everything. Getting to see her other abilities, getting to see her Resurrection again, like a proper Resurrection without worrying about transforming back at any time. Like, this is a proper Resurrection that I can actually, my body has fully recovered, and I'm ready to go. Let's do this. Let's do this. Gamuza, okay? And speaking of her Resurrection, we have her Can't Fear Your Own World artwork. Looking pretty damn fine, Nelliel. Looking damn fine there. I'm loving it. Still, of course, having the centaur aspect of everything, but damn, those legs, man. She's been working out. Those legs are kind of hella thick there. Also, kind of a fur push-up bra she's got rocking, and the horns also change a lot more to the antelope ones finally, so that's cool. And her javelin is not even, her lance or her javelin, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't even look more like that. It looks kind of more like a sword. You know, like she's holding, like, that's the handle, and you can't really see it because it's kind of obscured by her body, but, yeah, she's got, like, a laser sword and an epic tail that's like, turns into, like, purple, pink flames. I love it! So damn awesome. So yeah, there's that. Oh, her Fraxion. I didn't really talk about them too much. You know, Pesce, Dondo Chaka, Bawa Bawa, but also Bawa Bawa is just like a parasite that exists inside of Dondo Chaka. But yeah, also the way she treated them, you know, very much kind of like, I don't want to say maybe children with that, but she did, like, often play with them and play tag and everything. They had a very, like, fun, happy-go-lucky kind of personality and dynamic. Definitely something that you don't see with any other Espada and their Fraxions. Like, Salaporo treated his Fraxion as just, like, research subjects and nothing more. You had Neutra that kind of was, like, you know, Tesla was more of, like, his butler and very respectful, but you could tell they had sort of, like, they liked each other. It's just that Neutra was a lot more direct, kind of like a really really kind of stern boss kind of figure for Tesla. Then of course you had Lillinette and Stark that were like the same being, so they had like a very close relationship. But then you get to Nelliel, Pesce, and Donda Chaka, and they had much more of like, they were family. They were a family kind of dynamic, and that's definitely something you don't get to see from Hollows. So that might tie back to the whole Lamentation thing, but maybe I'm just kind of wanting it to. So yeah, I want her to have a tragic backstory, damn it. That makes her character more interesting. But no, I mean, I hope she doesn't, but she turned into a Hollow for some reason, so there probably was something messed up that happened in her life that had her transform into that, and it was probably something involving grief, I would assume there. But anyway, yeah, hoping to get a lot more from Nelliel when the anime comes back. Might be a while even when the anime comes back for us to get to that point in the story where Nelliel makes a reappearance, but please give us like a serious fight there. I want to see her in Gamuza again, and I want to see the whole thing. Maybe include her in the fight with Askin. Like, you have Grimchow showing up to deal the damage to Askin, but maybe something else that Nelliel could do outside of just saving them from the gift ball. Something else, maybe? That'd be cool. Anyway, really love getting Nelliel. That's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Gonna have my Oreo and milk now. Oh, this is the defining moment of any YouTuber. This is when you find out how Tekking eats his Oreos with milk. Yep. Signing out, everybody. She also has, like, gigantic, I'm talking huge, I'm talking magnificently massive boobs.